I think that tells you who the crowd is siding with for this one.
Huh, shocker.
I didn't hear a C9 cheer.
Weird.
Strangely enough.
Where are we?
Well, hey, they've got Korean players on the roster, all right?
True.
Sometimes when you have T1 versus Gen.G or T1 versus KT, you feel like only T1 was there. This is by far the most popular team in Korea. They drown out a lot of fan chants. And we do have this early aggression here by T1 at level 1. Ultimately won't end up being too impactful in a ward drop tier either.
Yeah, Sylas Bard, very strong, level 1, so maybe just want to see if they can catch someone out a little bit off guard, but just going to be returning to the lanes, and we'll just have to wait and see what does happen. In this bottom lane matchup especially, I think, you know, we were talking about how Berserker, very key, very big carry aspect of the C9 roster, whereas Gumayusi getting a big comfort pick with the first pick, Xayah. Definitely going to have my eyes on that bottom lane.
And early on, I'm really curious how well T1's going to be able to push these lanes, because the Rumble up top definitely gets push. I think Xayah Bard is likely going to be getting pushed early, although I can see that being contested. So it's this mid lane where you would think Orianna can get shoved early in the lane just because it's ranged versus melee, but then that's also going to be Oner's first look for where he's going to be ganking, because the way T1, I feel like, has tried to default their playstyle is a little bit back to how they were winning about a year ago, where they just try and push every lane, play super aggressive. So I think that's what T1's going to be going for this game, and EMENES needs to make sure he has really good wards. And he needs to push as well, so that there's not 3 lanes getting pushed in, which would stop Blaber from having any river access.
Yeah, looking to try to use the moments when FAKER is clearing to actually get some damage in with his Q as he did there, trying to keep the health slightly to his advantage, to use the range advantage there as best as he can to get one of those wards up. Blaber will be seen, speaking of wards here, by this one as he does come down towards Oner's portion of the jungle. And this early game here, obviously, for Rumble and Jax can go either way. The Rumble has a lot of advantages there. Zeus did take Comet and the Ignite, so he is going to have some ability to put some real pressure on in these first few levels.
Yeah, and very early on, I actually think this is advantage T1, because what Blaber did there, as Fudge is trying to sneak in behind the turret of Zeus, that's not normally how Rumble lanes go, unless I haven't been studying top lane most recently.
We have seen a few times that Jax will try to go at level 3, level 4, like right on the cusp of that, and actually proxy that wave so they can avoid the harassment, but he kind of failed it there, and will take a bit of damage. Meanwhile...
they just line up for it. That's a lot of poke damage. Got to be careful about that. We've been seeing a lot of summoners burned early in the bottom lane of this world so far.
Yeah, so I think good start by Fudge in the top lane. He'll be able to get a recall off there. The problem for Blaber is he's not going to get access to this bottom Scuttle Crab, most likely, because the Xayah Bard is already there early. It will depend, though. EMENES' condition is very good, so there could be, I mean, Blaber being able to get this because of EMENES' condition is very strong.
This is going to be huge here. We'll be able to pick this one up. You see the push in mid also going to be able to help, as EMENES could come down and assist. Keria looking for the journey.
Nice juke.
Yeah, not going to hit that one. Berserker just keeping his cool. Very important to do that, especially with both the supports on the roam. Got to be careful.
Yeah, and that magical journey is going to be very useful for setting up flanks for the Sylas later on, setting up flanks for Jarvan later on. It does work very well with this composition. The ultimate as well can really put a damper on Jax trying to flank, depending on how Keria wants to utilize it. As you mentioned, Fudge will be able to come back to lane with that proxy without burning his teleport. Feels very nice to do.
Yeah, and I think EMENES, whether or not he's able to hold on to his flash, is going to be so critical this entire game. Nice steal there by Oner, recovering from the earlier crab. But basically, you can see Fudge, Blaber, Zven, Berserker, they have all ways to escape a Jarvan or Bard ultimate. EMENES really doesn't. So if he ever is without flash, they're going to very easily be able to kill him.
Oner beginning to bully a bit here in the enemy jungle. He's just going straight at Blaber. He's got the push in the top side. Blaber is not going to hit that one. He's taking damage from the little Krugs here, and he nearly loses his life, but he is going to flash out of this one, as now here comes Keria, flash forward, extremely aggressive, and once again Berserker just going to kind of laugh at him.
And they're just putting pressure on in top side and bottom side here in the 2v2 once again. Keria using the journey to put that pressure on, does commit the flash this time around, doesn't find a ton of success, but they are really just trying to tax C9 everywhere, knowing Blaber was top side, knowing he was pushed out there. He's forced to flash, and Fudge, now level 6 is up.
He's taken way too much damage from that equalizer already. He's going to go straight into the death chamber. First blood given over to Oner in the top lane.
I mean, that was just perfectly done. That play was about 45 seconds in the making as well. well. Jarvan invading Blaber's jungle, pushing him down. Also, Zeus maximizing his experience to hit 6 at the right time. Very, very hard for C9 to counter that. Big play for T1.
Yeah, he's going to be able to pick up his Sork shoes as well off of this play. And yeah, he doesn't have teleport, but the wave is fine. He's going to be able to get back to lane without really any cost here. Fudge at least was able to, proxy that wave and return to lane on that first back without using his, so he can get back to lane right away. But that's a massive amount of gold going into a Rumble's pocket early on.
Yeah, it's a pretty good start for T1.
Yeah, feels pretty good for them.
I'm sorry, Jet.
So far.
It's not great.
We'll see how this game develops. T1 did struggle a bit against TL early, but he's got the shockwave and he's looking to get the flash, and that he will. EMENES just going to get out of dodge.
That's all FAKER needed to do. He didn't have to burn any summoner spells in order to get the flash of EMENES, so now when Jarvan hits level 6, he can just move in and ult EMENES if EMENES ever moves past the halfway point. So not only do they get the top kill, they get the mid summoner spell flash that they needed, which lets them move to this Drake pretty uncontested.
Well, I was going to say, when you use that at that timing to grab flash, then this is before 6, but Oner can use his flag and drag to threaten that with FAKER stealing the shockwave, and now you've grabbed dragon control. And I mean, this is just T1's map to rule right now.
All right, Berserker trying to take an aggressive trade here. He's level 5 against Guma's level 5. Does have some help from Blaber, who was shadowing them down on the bottom side of the map, but not going to amount to too much. Guma just walks away from this one as double control ward. It's going to be some free gold over to C9, I suppose.
Take their time killing those. Just a quick reminder on what's at stake here as well. Both these teams are 1-1 in the Swiss stage. A win won't advance them, a lose won't eliminate them, but it will put them into either an elimination game or a promotion game. So 2-1 is obviously way better, because then that means you'll get 2 chances to play best of 3s, where if you win 1, you'll advance. Loser goes into the 1-2 pool and will be on the brink of elimination.
And there are some top teams down there as well. There will be after today. And Keria here, a little bit overextended, just going to grab some Spell Thief's Edge stacks, and they're not going to commit anything towards him, despite his flash still being down. His Oner's not done yet with this harassment here on the top side. He's got level 6.
Yeah, this time it's even more powerful. He has the push in the top side again. The ult blown down on the bottom lane, though. Zven going on in as Keria just trying to walk this one out, but the Zeri ultimate just going to push T1's bottom lane back, as they will not take that fight at this point in time.
Yeah, C9 doing their best to try and make something happen. That top side is just getting absolutely steamrolled, though, by T1. Really rough start for Blaber. You really would love to be able to get that first Rift Herald as the Bel'Veth, but he is just behind in experience since that early invade by Oner, since the Rumble has been able to push top, and is really struggling to get the farm you need to take over the game as Bel'Veth.
The no magic mantle that Fudge has right now isn't going to be doing too much at this stage, obviously with the Sork shoes already online. And if you lose this Herald as C9, you're not going to be able to get Jax accelerated for the mid game. It's just not going to happen. Bel'Veth, as we were talking about in the draft, would love to have that power, get Jax some additional plates, but as it is right now, he just doesn't have any agency here on the top lane. Now, they did stop the Herald take here. They are grouping for this.
This is going to be really interesting, because Zven left a while ago, leaving Berserker down bot lane for a long time. It's allowed Keria to push the wave, recall, and now be on the way to Rift Herald, which wouldn't give C9 time to kill it.
2v2 at the top side. The Equalizer getting some big value, and now Oner is going to join up with this one, as they do want to extend this play, but not sure if they want to overextend, as Zven has come on in. The flag and drag goes in out to the Rakan, as Oner just doesn't give a damn. He has Keria behind him, gets him in the death chamber. The ultimate comes out, and everybody is going down on the side of C9 in the top lane. T1 just burning them to a crisp in the top lane.
Well, that'll be 4 kills for T1 now in this early game, an over 2,500 gold lead, and it was off the play there. Oner's top side, he saves Cataclysm so long there to make sure he can get the most value out of it. Then Keria gets the double ultimate there to lock 2 in place, and Guma,
he's gonna force the flash, has to use his ult, but that's still gonna be a win. You'll always trade your ult for that flash there.
Absolutely, but now you're looking at a Rumble with 5 Dark Seal stacks. This, of course, does give the Herald over as well.
What a dream start for T1. Playing around Zeus's Rumble for all the games that FAKER missed in the summer split. Even though they didn't win that many, when they did, it was often off the back of Zeus, and he's been so dominant in that top lane. Right here, even though the ultimate was used early, it gets them low enough that gives, and I feel like C9 had a little bit of confidence here. I don't exactly know why.
Well,
because
I mean, the problem too is that he can flag and drag away from the counter-strike here, and Fudge is then forced way too far up, and you've taken so much damage already as Fudge here. You can't stick around in the fight for any extended period of time. It's not like you have any sustained damage in your members, whereas Zeus has all the sustained damage you could ever want in a skirmish like this. As long as he's at full health and he's untouched, you lose those.
Oh boy, here we go again. I feel like Keria is just kind of playing with his food at this point. Berserker has dealt with this many a time, but now he doesn't have flash, so got to be careful about that. But yeah, Keria gets up to the top side. I think they thought it was a 3v2 for a while, and maybe they could just isolate Oner, but it was just not meant to be.
Yeah.
And now T1 have really turned the scales in their favor. Over 3,000 gold in the lead already.
Yeah, I kind of feel like C9 was stuck between a couple of bad choices. Either they just reset and let the Rift Herald go over, in which case they're already down in gold, they're getting bled out, Bel'Veth falls further behind, or go for a low percentage play, which has bigger drawbacks if it doesn't work. And unfortunately for them, it did not work. The second dragon is spawning. T1 also has control of the river. So C9 is absolutely on the back foot, and T1 is, I feel like, in their comfort zone. This is what they live for. Big gold lead, able to engage any fight they want, and they're doing it.
Absolutely. Well, of course, this is still the feature matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz, Gumayusi versus Berserker. And there has been a lot of action in the bottom lane. We'll have to wait and see how those two AD carries do scale up and who is going to get the better of this game by the end of it. As the top lane talked a lot about it.
Well, I mean, we did see, of course, that win probability powered by AWS earlier, and I think your guess is as good as theirs at this point in time. It looked very heavily favored even 12 minutes into this game. And that bottom matchup has been, it's currently deathless for both AD carries, but Keria put all the pressure on. Guma forced that flash out earlier. He still doesn't have it, and now he can't really defend this turret without help. And Bel'Veth is in the main base, so Blaber can't help out, and this is just straight up T1 grabbing plates here, essentially for free. And they may not even need to commit the Herald here. Might just want to drop it somewhere else, and that looks like that's what they're going to do.
I think pretty easy to drop it mid lane as well, get a little bit of extra gold on a Faker. He's the only person on the team who isn't currently ahead. That's also the one lane that wasn't naturally winning early, so wouldn't shock me if they just use this bot pressure, push people back in the river, and look for a fight or drop the Herald mid.
While they're over the wall, they're looking for Zven as he is going to get dunked on, and he's got one hope, his ultimate ability, but that's not going to do enough as he was alone. 1v4 as T1 come over the wall, you know, not playing against a lot of bards, I would imagine, but that ability to just attack you in your own jungle, very difficult to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, you already don't have a lot of vision. You're already having to pre-plan around a lot, and then that happens. Zeus actually getting a little bit caught here.
Zeus is going to walk it out. I mean, he's still up a level as the ultimate committed to there by Fudge. And you talked about the Rift Herald. It is going to be dropped in mid lane. And this might just be a full turret. I mean, C9 not really in a position to defend this as finally some people are coming over. Oner is just going for a little walk behind the turret just for fun. I mean, I don't even know what he's doing. He doesn't seem to care.
Showboating, maybe. I can't really think of any other reason to do that than to have a little bit of fun because they know they're up 4,000 gold. I feel like they're really in their comfort zone right now.
He had the portal there, wasn't able to take it to get back over the wall, but took the long way around. Perhaps afraid Blaber was coming down faster than he expected, but ultimately it doesn't matter. But this is what you were talking about in terms of the engage range here. Look at this, getting Faker into position to help lock Zven down. Yeah, he gets away from the Everfrost, tries to hold out, but the Cataclysm is going to keep him in place, so he's just simply dead. No way out of that one, and that's what you're dealing with Bard, is just putting these melee engaged champions into range of slippery champions like Zeri, of slippery champions like Rakan. They feel fairly safe even without vision when you know generally where people are, but they can go through walls.
Looks about right.
MasterCard lane economy snapshot. It is, well, Faker's only up 31 gold. The rest of the map, very heavily favored on the top side, plus the plates you would imagine down on the bottom side that give Guma and Keria their lead down there.
Yeah, I think even at this state in the game, there's an extremely low chance that C9 loses. And currently the disappointing thing about this game for C9 is all the plays that C9 may have been dodging in the early game, like Keria flying over the wall and throwing Qs at Berserker and Berserker juking them. There was never like a counter play that C9 would be able to make.
Fudge in a lot of trouble. He flashes onto the other side of the equalizer. Zeus just taking this one up. Fudge is still alive underneath this turret. He's just going to get flagged from the heavens as Oner going to pick up his 4th kill in this game.
And here's another example. They spent so long on that dive top, so there's 3 people for C9 bottom trying to make the counter happen. Let's see if C9 can at least get a turret.
I mean, they're going to try to here. Keria does have have ult, this is going to be very difficult to pull off, and FAKER, of course, can hijack something as well, can grab the shockwave here and try to defend with it. I don't think they're going to be able to get much. Meanwhile, Berserker can't defend this turret by himself. This is a cannon wave, so get the topside play to be a success. Unfortunately, Fudge's flash not good enough to get away from that Cataclysm and the equalizer. He's impaled by the flag. They lose top turret, mid turret's down. They find nothing bottom side. 15 minutes and 45 seconds in. Those bounties are up, objective bounties are up, but there is just nothing to take on this rift. And, I mean, we are on pace. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but we are on pace for a perfect game here, potentially, for T1.
Yeah, I mean, Wolf, you've been here for the summer split struggles of T1.
I have, yes.
Right? The MSI disappointment, FAKER's wrist injury, falling to, what was it, 7-7?
Yeah.
And then FAKER coming back and kind of scraping the team through playoffs. Where would you put how they look in this game compared to how they looked in the summer split?
They look very coordinated, and the thing that happened when FAKER was gone, it was not that Poby, his replacement, was so weak comparatively they couldn't play the game. It was really just about the lack of shot calling, and they had a clear game plan to play around Zeus this game, put the pressure on bottom side at the same time. And FAKER, if he had fallen further behind in lane, if EMENES had actually been able to find some success there, maybe there would have been a pressure point for Blaber, but it feels like Oner is just one step ahead of Blaber this entire time.
Yeah.
I think FAKER coming in as a leader, that's always been his role in recent years, right? We've all known the FAKER moments. We've all seen the LeBlanc plays. We've all seen the Zed versus Zed. But in recent years, he has kind of been that big voice. And you could clearly feel the preparation going into this series is much stronger than we saw at the latter part of summer season without him.
Yeah, I feel like going through World's history, you know, things FAKER does. 2013, always these amazing mechanical outplays. Things FAKER does has changed a lot in the last 11 years. Now the thing FAKER does is get a bunch of really mechanically talented players around him, hold his own in mid lane, and press his F keys really good and talk.
He's been pressing his keys pretty well. Oner, once again, maybe it's showboating, I'm not sure. Oner in a little bit of trouble as he does have some help from his squad, but he is going to be able to get away. Blaber gets hooked by the feathers, and now there's a massive equalizer on the entirety of C1, C9 rather, trying to retreat out of this one. That's a huge play comes out from Keria, and they turn this one around, and even the tower can't get into this one, as Keria will disable that. This might just be a clean ace going into the hands of T1, and that it is. Nobody will fall on the side of T1.
An insane win here for T1, but we all saw it coming. They had control over the dragon, and at this point in time, Oner is just so tanky, he can absorb a lot of that damage, and as the turn begins, it feels almost tool-assisted the way that T1 chased the fight. And the way the equalizer is set up by Zeus, we'll watch this play again, as Oner takes all of the aggression here as they kite back through, missed extendo beam here from Berserker. And look at the equalizer positioning as it goes through this brush. It is just so clean, and no one on C9 can avoid this equalizer damage except Zven. He's only get over the wall. You can't flash out, you're on a fat wall, and now you're trapped between this wall here and Keria's re-engage. He goes through with the magical turn, he sets up the stun, disables the turret so they can further deep dive here, and you are just not gonna get out. If you were Cloud9, you were just trapped between a rock and a hard place. One of our famous LCK lines.
All right, so it's only 9,000 gold at 18 minutes. This is definitely,
for now,
this is one of the most lopsided games we have seen all Swiss stage.
And we've seen some big ones too.
Yeah, we have.
We've had a couple of 24-minute games as well. And, you know, Wolf was talking about it before. We're on pace for a perfect game. That's just going to be Berserker dead for free. There's just no help under the turret. He has flash, but no time to react. And T1 are just taking whatever they want on this map right now.
Yeah, certainly looking very much like this game is not going much longer. I mean, we're talking about it's Chemtech Soul. That's one thing you put in the positives column. It's not like they're getting Hextech Soul on this next dragon here, but the map is completely open. This Herald is going to take out the inner. Will likely get a charge here on that inhibitor turret if they want to commit to it. They don't even have to. And T1 have control over every zone on the map. Look at the wards they have to the top side of the jungle as well towards a Baron that will be spawning in 10 seconds. So you've got to clear all of that as C9 before you can even think about the contest.
It's quite clinical what T1 has been able to do this game. Good timing on the first 3 Drakes. Really good timing on this last reset as well so that they can move towards Baron on spawn.
That's a T1 classic.
I mean, they do flip a lot of Barons. They actually move towards Baron on spawn even if they're not up 11,000 gold.
It's true, but this time They are, and FAKER, I mean, he's
on,
drawn
C9.
3, 4, 5 people
Just
down
get
to
the
the
turret.
bottom side of the map. And yes, they will get this objective bounty.
Not a perfect game, chat.
Not a perfect game, but it's a perfect Baron. Nobody is going to contest them on that one. As we saw the win probability once again powered by AWS, it looked like 100% actually this time. There wasn't even like a little blip.
Yeah, that's about
time.
right. This would be a higher win probability than G2's comeback on day 2 when they were at a 99.4% chance of losing.
Yeah, I think we might be adding
This would be higher.
50 gold for the Nexus on this Red Bull Baron power play if they wanted to push it further. But just to be safe, they will of course sync up the waves. They're going to put FAKER in the bottom lane here, and Blaber.
Hey, he got the blue buff.
Yeah.
You know what?
At what cost?
That's pretty good. He got the buff. Oh no, he's in a lot of trouble. Yeah, he's being chased down here by Oner. I think that Keria is just going to let him do the 1v1 thing, and there he goes, dunked into the ground.
I say this a lot, but it's hard to criticize teams that are in positions like this, 13,000 gold behind. I mean, you could say there's no way he has any right to that blue buff, but if you just sit in your base, what are you doing at this point? I mean, T1 have won this game, and everything that happens from now on, and frankly, everything that happened from 5 minutes ago on is really hard to criticize for C9. There really is no correct play.
Now FAKER is just doing a dance in the enemy base at this point in time, picks up the quickness and just kind of shoves it in their face as T1. You know, they're on pace to try to break one of the fastest games that we have had here in the Swiss stage. The turrets of the Nexus are already going down. C9, they're going to have to make one last stand, and they get the knock up here on a Zeus who loses a total of 0 health at this point in time as the Bard ultimate comes out as well. And Keria's having a lot of fun at this point. Fudge is in that back line, but he's just going to be ripped to shreds by the feathers once again. As T1 will play with their food, they will get what they deserve after this victory. As down will go the Nexus. T1 will move on to 2-1 in the Swiss stage.
Really dominant showing by T1. This is the team that T1 fans wanted to have show up at the World Championship. It moves them to 2-1. Unfortunately, both those wins were against North American seeds, but that's what happens at the World Championship. You have to be able to beat LCK and LPL teams if you want to be moving on. So C9, gonna have to just take that one on the chin and come back stronger next time.
Yeah, I think the difference in Oner's play in this game and some of the other games we've seen in Worlds, you could definitely feel it. I think Oner's been one of the most heavily criticized T1 players in Worlds thus far, despite, only being 1-1.